you are not getting the nourishment that you need or that your grandparents had 50 years ago. The overcropping of soils, the glyphosate driftage, the overprocessing of food, it's a disaster. So that number one, our bodies and brain are not getting what we need to just even survive, let alone thrive. Number two, the amount of toxins in our world is just off the charts. The average adult has 700 toxins in their body, and our immune systems weren't built to support that.
Dr. Mindy here.
Your body is in a war zone.
Different parts of the brain get activated depending upon how stressed you are.
When you look at it from that inflammatory.
That's interesting. I mean, that has some merit to it for sure.
And you can't control everything.
I'd say.
And what about a woman who is not pregnant, but she's aiming?
Catherine, let me just start off by saying welcome to the Resetter podcast.
Thank you so much. I can't believe I'm finally sitting here with you. I'm so excited.
Okay, here is my burning question. And this, I'm just going to start off with like the deepest question I have around your passion around algae, because we've known each other for several years.
Yeah.
I've seen energy
They
beds.
show up everywhere.
And my brain has been curious. And what I keep asking myself is, why do we need to think about algae?
Yeah.
Like, there's so many things to think about. Why is algae the hero of our health right now?
Well, there's two reasons. At this moment in time, our food supply is so damaged, our soil is so damaged. It doesn't matter what you eat, you are not getting the nourishment that you need or that your grandparents had 50 years ago. The overcropping of soils, the glyphosate driftage, the overprocessing of food, it's a disaster. So that number one, our bodies and brain are not getting what we need to just even survive, let alone thrive. Number two, the amount of toxins in our world is just off the charts. The average adult has 700 toxins in their body, and our immune systems weren't built to support that. So that's also causing health issues that manifest as weight gain, brain fog, digestive issues, cancer, heart disease, all the chronic diseases. So those two issues are causing 95% of our health concerns.
Yeah.
And algae addresses both of them. Spirulina, which is a blue-green algae, is the most nutrient-dense food in the world. Now, you have to be careful where you buy yours, because if you use high heat, like most people do, you lose a lot of the nutrients, but we don't. So first of all, United Nations has endorsed spirulina for 49 years as the answer to world hunger, because it has I can give you the link.
No, I believe you. I just where my brain goes with that is like, why haven't we heard that?
Well, because it's just not well known. Nobody knows what. First of all, people don't even know what algae is, and I'll get to that in a minute. But it's endorsed by the United Nations because it has 3 times the amount of protein in steak. There is nothing in the world with more protein than algae. Number one, and it's a sustainable, eco-friendly crop. So number two, NASA endorses algae as the most nutrient-dense food. And we have a quote from NASA that says, 1 gram of algae has the same nutrition as 1,000 grams of fruits and vegetables. 1 to 1,000. And here's the most important thing. They come as little tiny tablets. So each one of these tablets has the same nutrition as an entire plate of vegetables, but without any carbs, without any sugar, without any toxins, without any work. You can throw one of these into your mouth. I just had a plate of vegetables. Now, most people do swallow them because spirulina is a rough get. So now you're getting all the nourishment, and we're going to talk about the mitochondria later on, the nourishment that you need, that your body and the food supply is not giving you. So that's number one.
Wait, can I ask you one thing on that? So one of the challenges we're seeing with our fasters is that when you start to build a fasting lifestyle and you have this compressed eating window,
right?
How do you get your vegetables in?
Right.
And when you're looking like at women in general, breaking down hormones happens in the gut. And and I'm a huge fan of women, especially over 40, eating more vegetables to feed the strobolome and be able to maximize their gut health.
Right.
But then you match that with a fasting lifestyle.
Right.
And it's like, okay, you better open up that salad and start eating it for the next 4 hours.
Right, I know.
So could we look at this as food and put it in our fasting window even?
Absolutely. This replaces the need for vegetables. Absolutely.
That's crazy.
And Chlorella does have fiber in it. Spirulina is technically a bacteria, but so it does feed the gut biome, but the spirulina will satisfy your hunger. You could take, if you took 15 or 20, it's like a meal replacement. For 15 or 20 calories, you're getting all the protein you need, all the vegetables, all the minerals, all the electrolytes, everything, but without any carbs and without any work. It's effortless nutrition. I call it your nutrition insurance. In fact, frankly, it's health insurance because and it's effortless.
Yes.
So
it's true health insurance. Everybody's premiums.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's the
honestly, we want to get into the wellness space, corporate wellness space, because it's like, hey, employers, this gives your people the energy mentally and physically to get their work done. And when we'll talk about Chlorella, and builds your immune system and stops you from being sick. So no sick days. So crazy. And because it's ketogenic, it's paleo, it's even for carnivores. It's great for carnivores because I forgot to mention 0 lectins or oxalates, which is a big issue for people.
So SIBO too.
Yeah, SIBO. It plays with everybody.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and algae is like everybody's best friend. Yeah, it will never let you down.
It's everybody's best friend that nobody knows about. It's like that friend waiting.
I know.
Your best.
I know.
Yeah,
so that's why
I love it.
I'm so passionate, and I've been doing this for 13 years. Yeah. I'll tell you later the story how I got into it because my sister had breast cancer, and that's what got me into this, and she's fine now. But this has been used in Asia for 75 years. It is a multi-billion-dollar agricultural crop there. It's almost as big as the beef industry is here. But nobody knows about it here because it's not grown here. In Asia, you can't ride your bicycle to work or to school without going by an algae farm because it is farmed. Here we have corn and wheat and all those crappy carb or donut.
Yeah,
what these are and like where would you ever know about algae? Just you don't grow up with it.
Right.
And then there's 100,000 studies. It's a big number. 100,000 scientific studies. Many or most of them are in PubMed, documenting all the benefits we're going to talk about today about algae.
Yeah.
But scientists like to talk to other scientists. So nobody is explaining the science of algae. That seems to be my background. In fact, ironically, I have no science background. I call myself a citizen scientist.
I love that. And I want to stop for a second because this podcast is about empowering people. So in case you don't know what PubMed is where you go to find the research on everything. Right. It is
scientific papers.
Yeah, it is the legitimate site where you can go and find studies. But once you get there, you're in a rabbit hole that just keeps you going. So, but everybody can go there, which is why I love the citizen scientists. Let's all be citizen scientists.
And I'm just so motivated because I needed to find out why people, I know there's millions of scientists out there trying to figure out why people are getting sick, but I don't know. I'm just this driven individual but I thought I can figure this out. I know I can figure this out.
That's how I feel.
And I think I did. And the material is there, but you have to be willing to spend your weekends or when everyone else is at the movies, you're down there trying to what exactly is the electron transport chain? What is this thing? And if your eyes glaze over the first time you see it, and then after you've looked at it the 1,000th time, you start to get it, and you go, "Oh, that's why this happens." And you see patterns.
You've seen patterns. So talk a little bit about. So this
is very nourishing, energizing, great for fasting. Intermittent fasting does not decrease your ketones, does not increase your glucose. 1 calorie. It is so nourishing. You could live on this forever. And in fact, before we switch to chlorophyll,
So
I just wanted to say one last thing. I found out that in Japan, if babies cannot digest mother's breast milk when they're born, they would die. They've tried everything. The only thing that keeps them alive is spirulina in water.
Wow.
And so I thought, well, that's really interesting. So I started looking at mother's breast milk amino acid profile, identical to spirulina. Same aminos, same proportions, as well as
what aminos? Just because we've been talking about
there's eight. I don't have my nutrition chart, but there's 18 of the 20. As well as 9 that your body can't make. So it's a complete protein.
Wow.
And it has this essential fatty acid called GLA, gamma-linolenic acid. The only other place that has more of that is mother's breast milk. So mother's breast milk is the perfect food. This is number 2.
Yeah, and so the reason I ask about the amino acids, we've been talking a ton about amino acids in my Reset Academy, and aminos are precursors to hormones and neurotransmitters.
Right.
And so as women age, and we're going to talk about that and what happened, where this can fit into slowing the aging process down.
But that's my spot.
But a big piece of that is that you're losing these key nutrients.
Yeah.
So I love that. And then I want to ask one other thing with this. If it doesn't raise glucose, could we use it in like a 3-day water fast to mitigate the symptoms that a lot of people have from?
Well, that's a good question. You could. I think you could because, and we'll get to this in a minute. It also stimulates apoptosis and autophagy, which is critical.
Right.
And
but that might not feel so good.
Yeah, that's true. But that's why you want the chlorella to pull out all the dead cells as well. So, but definitely for intermittent fasting. But when you're talking about the aging piece and how this will, slow or stop the aging process, I'll do a big reveal for your community. I mean, I'm getting close to 70.
Wow. I was just going to say, are you going to tell us your age? I love when people just announce their age.
Ladies, or anybody who's watching, I have been taking this for 13 years.
Yeah.
13 years. I'm on no medications. I sleep well. I poop well. I digest well. My skin has no wrinkles. There's no Botox. And so
no Botox.
No Botox.
Wow, so that's impressive.
Yeah, like everything moves, right? Okay.
I know. My face too.
So I'm enthusiastic because I want other people to have the same benefits. It is not necessary to decline when you're aging.
Yeah.
You're going to age, but I can tell you exactly why this is happening to you, or one of my belief of why it's happening to you, and how algae can stop that decline. And I am evidence of it.
Yeah.
And so my brain's always on fire, and that's one of the first things to go.
You're not amped up on
nothing. I don't even drink coffee. Yeah. I drink green tea. But
amazing.
But truly, this is amazing. So let's
talk about that's algae. So that's spirulina.
That's spirulina. I'm talk about taking it in the morning, but you could take it before a workout because it gives you energy. And we're going to talk about cellular energy because I also want to clarify the energy you get is not like a stimulant. It is not caffeine. It is not sugar. It's not chemicals. It's cellular energy.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that. And so I tell people cellular energy is like money. When you have more money, you can do more things and you have more choices. When you have more cellular energy, you can do more things. You have more choices. So you could take this like 20 tablets and go for a run and you would have the best run of your day. Or you could take it before you go to bed. You'll have the best sleep of your day because what it's doing is it's facilitating the production of the ATP to be directed to what it is you are doing at that moment.
Yeah.
So it knows.
So I love looking at the chemistry of how things work in our cells, and I'm thinking, well, what if you add that in when there's the presence of ketones there? Because ketones are already like supercharging you.
Exactly.
So if you're in like a fat adapted fasting state, and then you bring this in together, I mean, not that anybody needs to be more supercharged, but when they're fasting.
Yeah.
But that switch to go from a place of being a sugar burner to a fat burner, that switch can be really difficult. So sometimes if you go into more of if you're in that fast or you're struggling with that switch, it can really help to have things like this.
Totally.
So,
and also and we'll get to chlorella, but the energy that you're getting, it's not a burst because it's just from nutrition and it's just at the cellular level.
Right.
So the best way we describe it is you feel fresh. That's it. Alert. You feel fresh. You feel like you had a great night's sleep. You might not even notice it if you were just going on in your day, except you'll notice that you're not fatigued, you're not hungry, you don't have brain fog. I'd say that's a pretty good way to live life.
Yeah. Do people ever tell you like that sounds too good to be true?
Oh yeah, I was called names when I first started. They were heckling me. This is a miracle pill. But here's the irony: algae was the first life on Earth 4 billion years ago. And if we have time, I'll talk to you about it. But it was a cyanobacteria. Spirulina is a cyanobacteria, and over time, that cyanobacteria evolved into mitochondria.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So
wait. So
our mitochondria came from.
That's pretty damn good.
That's why the nutrients that are in algae are so powerful for the mitochondria because they're family. They literally came from the same place. And we're going to talk about the mitochondria of that second inner membrane left over from when it was by itself.
Yeah.
And the stuff that's in here drugs can't even get into that in that mitochondria. Nothing gets in there except algae.
That is crazy.
As well as okay.
Chlorella.
So chlorella is spirulina's brother, and spirulina was the cyanobacteria first life on Earth, and it is a bacteria, cyanobacteria. Chlorella is a plant, and it evolved about 1 billion years after spirulina. Now, the great thing about chlorella is that it's the highest concentration of chlorophyll in the world. Chlorophyll has the same chemical composition as your hemoglobin. So it's very powerful to build your blood, which builds your immune system, which builds your gut, which builds everything. Number 2, chlorella has a hard cell wall. Spirulina has none. Chlorella has the hardest in the plant kingdom. And in fact, it has to be cracked at production, and we do it in a way that's much safer than anybody else. That hard cell wall attaches to toxins, lead, mercury, radiation, all the heavy metals, any kind of senescent cells as they're dying, lime, it's a binder. It's a binder. It chelates. It's way better than activated charcoal, which can pull out all minerals and leave you dehydrated. This has 40 vitamins and minerals, so it's also populating your body with minerals. So two things, very, very cleansing because of the chlorophyll, which cleanses your colon and cleanses your liver. Highest glutathione in the world, which is very also detoxing, and particularly for your liver. The hard cell wall pulls out toxins, and it has K2, vitamin K2, which moves excess calcium out of your skin, out of your soft tissues, including your heart, your blood vessels, your brain, and into your bones. So almost everybody is deficit in vitamin K2, and this has your daily requirement of it.
So if I wasn't doing spirulina and chlorella on a daily basis, all these amazing things you're talking about, the happening, like the getting into the mitochondria, do we have other foods that can even come close to that?
They are the most concentrated foods in the world, number one. Number two, there are three antioxidants that stop the damage of mitochondria. And when your mitochondria, especially your mitochondrial DNA, are damaged, they cannot send proper signaling to cells or other nucleus or other mitochondria. This is what leads to diseased cells, which leads to the symptoms that we're experiencing, whether it's a hormonal or immune or brain fog. So the key for everyone is to protect their mitochondria.
Yeah.
And when because I tell people, the mitochondria are on your team. Like,
yeah.
And I also tell everybody, I never eat alone. I'm eating with my mitochondria. They're all, because what I eat, they get.
Right.
And when you're eating carbs, they're being bombarded with free radicals. Processed carbs, sugar, processed foods result in more free radical damage because there's slippage, there's loss of electrons in that electron transport chain, which convert into free radicals. So your poor mitochondria, they have no defense. Except, they have some defense if you start getting into, first of all, you want to reduce those carbs, which is what keto diets do, fasting does, and same with algae. There's virtually no free radicals released when you're using algae. Yeah. And the other option is to remove the free radicals. And I'm circling back to the original thought, which is the problem is the mitochondria have this inner membrane, and traditional antioxidants can't get in there.
Yeah.
Vitamin E, vitamin C, as I mentioned, nothing can get in there. Except there's 4 that can. Chlorophyll, which of course algae has the highest concentration of, glutathione, melatonin, and superoxide dismutase. Now, the great thing is your body makes those 3, superoxide dismutase, melatonin, and glutathione, and from the moment you're born until the age of 30. And then after 30, it starts to drop. It starts to drop until you're like 40, which is, a lot of your audience. And 50, it's even worse. And 60, 0. And those are the antioxidants that can get into that inner membrane to stop free radical damage. But after 30, you're screwed.
Yep.
Algae has the highest concentration of all 3 of them in the world, and you can't get them. Superoxide dismutase doesn't exist in any other food. Glutathione, there's the minuscule amount in meat, but otherwise virtually non-existent. And even if you get a glutathione injection or drip or something, it has a very short half-life, which means it disappears in your body within about half an hour or an hour. So when you take it as a food in algae, you're constantly feeding in that glutathione so they can get in there to stop the free radical damage.
Right.
So you can, and so while the spirulina is stopping that free radical damage, by the time you're 30 or 40 or 50, you've also accumulated more and more toxins.
Yeah.
And that's where the chlorella comes in.
So they're like a team.
They're a team. They're your A team. This will protect. They will protect you. Yeah, algae team. It's the A team. And I'm Catharine Arnston, which is also an A.
Oh my gosh, this is your A team.
This is the A team. And honestly, they go to work for you every single day. They never let you down. They always work. It doesn't matter what age group. But if you're in their 40s and 50s, this is the answer, because this gets rid of, both of them have virtually 0 free radicals, but this one cleans up and removes the free radicals, and this one will pull out the toxins that have been accumulating over time. So they work very well. So generally people take this one in the morning because it also gives you energy and satisfies your hunger. And then this one, because your body goes through a detox repair cycle when you're sleeping.
Yeah.
So this will really up-level that process.
So talk a little bit about one of the things that I've seen just in my world and with my patients and our online world has been that there is something pivotal that happens around 35.
Yeah.
Like for women specifically. Yeah. And I actually brought this to Dr. Amen's attention.
Yeah.
He was on the podcast and I said, tell me what is hormonally happening to women as they transition into their late 30s, into their 40s, because I see such a huge change in mental and physical health. Yeah. And you know what he said to me? He said, well, the biggest problem is that we weren't meant to live as long as we're living.
Well, this is the thing, because when I read in the science that your body stops making these three critical antioxidants after the age of 30, I thought, well, that's crazy. Mother Nature is so clever to create us. Why at 30? So I dug into the science and I found out humans have been on the earth for about 2 million years. And for almost 2 million years, we died at 30. So our biology thinks we're dying at 30. It just stops making them. We have only lived longer in the last 150 years. And our biology I tell people our biology has not caught up with our destiny. We are now living to 80, to 90, and possibly longer, but we're not living well. So who wants to be 40 and 50 and 60 and be incapacitated?
Yeah.
And the level of heart disease and cancer is not going down. In fact, it's escalating. I have some statistics that show 60% of adults, so over the age of 40, 60% have a chronic condition. Mm-hmm. And when you get to 65, it goes up to 85%. Yeah. And 75% of deaths are from cancer and heart disease.
That's crazy.
It's just
and many of those are happening. Probably most, if we look at the statistics, are happening to women.
Yeah.
And
women get extra. We get hit with extra stuff that men don't get. Osteoporosis, which also kicks in after the age of 40. Alzheimer's. Most 80% of Alzheimer's patients are women. And I think it has something to do with that estrogen change. I don't know enough science about that. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the brain because your brain has
That's why
the highest concentration of mitochondria in your entire body.
Wait, but the prefrontal cortex specifically,
exactly,
right?
Executive function.
Yeah. Explain a little bit just so my audience, they hear me talk about prefrontal cortex all the time.
Well, and I'm not a brain expert, but your brain has 2 million mitochondria per cell. So these little things that are generating your energy, that cellular energy that you need for anything, the most of them are in your brain. The second highest, by the way, ladies, are women's eggs.
There's
600,000 mitochondria per cell in women's eggs. And the third highest is your heart, which is about 7,000. So basically, the places where the highest energy needs are where the greatest number of mitochondria are. So when your mitochondria are damaged, that's where you're going to see the greatest impact. So this is for infertility. It's really mitochondria.
What do we know about this for infertility?
So for the brain, there's a great book that just came out by Dr. Chris Palmer called Brain Energy. And the entire book is about how all brain disorders, Alzheimer's, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, are really ultimately a mitochondria disease. Mm-hmm. So you need to protect what you've got. And the spirulina in particular, that superoxide dismutase that stops free radical damage, it also protects and stops your telomeres from shortening. Mm-hmm. It stops amyloid plaques from forming. So we did our first little clinical trial. It was very small with a group called the Gray Team. They're based in Florida. And their goal is to stop suicide of military veterans, which is 35%. So we did this little small test. We did a brain scan of the participants before the test and then a brain scan after. It was only 30 days. And all we did was give them 30 spirulina tablets a day. That was it, because they come in these little pouches. Okay. Nothing else changed. When the first brain scan was done, it showed that and these are veterans who had brain issues since they were discharged. So some of them, it's been 20 years they've had these issues. Mm-hmm. So the brain scan showed it was all blue, which shows inflammation and lack of activity, lack of brain activity. 30 days later, blue almost completely gone, which means all the inflammation is completely gone, and the brain shows yellow and red, which shows brain activity. And it was both the frontal cortex and the back cortex. Nothing else happened. They also used a biostrap, which measured their sleep and their heart rate variability. And some of them, their heart rate variability increased like
Oh, that's a
50%.
huge one. Because we've got everybody in our group wearing wearables and looking at things.
Yeah.
And heart rate variability is a tough one a needle to move.
Yeah. So 50% increase in 30 days with just spirulina. We're going to do it again with a larger study. We're going to do chlorella, and some with chlorella, some with both of them. But so now you're getting nourished. You're getting energy for the day. You're getting all the nutrients you need. You're feeding your mitochondria, and you're reducing inflammation. So we scan the brain, but the decrease in inflammation would occur everywhere throughout the body. It wouldn't just be the brain. It's just that's what we measured. So for anxiety, sleep disorders, it's all related to the brain. And of course, the brain is connected by the vagus nerve to the gut. So that affects the gut, right?
Gut changes.
Yeah.
What do you think? I'm thinking as you're talking, I'm like, you know what happens as we age is the things that are supposed to happen in our body are not happening anymore.
Exactly.
Which is why this was like my whole purpose of the menopause reset is I wanted to show people that I changed my lifestyle at 43. I had to, because all of my menopausal symptoms just changed my outlook on life, changed the way that I felt in my body. So I changed my lifestyle to map to that.
Yeah.
But when I hear what I want people to realize is that when you say the energy is not like caffeine energy.
No.
All you're bringing back is a nutrient that's going to help the body do what it's supposed to do and what it did at 20 and
exactly
earlier.
So you'll start to feel like you used to.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember, and maybe it's so long you can't remember what it was like to have endless energy. Because what happens is when you don't have energy, you're so lethargic and you're so depressed because you can't everything is a struggle.
Yeah.
It's a struggle to get out there, and the struggle takes away your joy. And when you are missing your joy, then life becomes arduous. It's drudgery.
Yeah.
This gives you back at the cellular level the kind of energy you had naturally when you were younger. And that's when your mitochondria were plentiful, when they were working properly. And so they were protecting you and generating all that ATP to help you do whatever you want to do without you even knowing about it. It was just automatic.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What do we know about what it does? Do we have any research on how either of these products work towards hormones or neurotransmitters? So like you and I talked, one of the things that we're seeing with women as they go through menopause, they lose their sex hormones and then the neurotransmitters follow.
Yeah.
It's a double whammy to moods.
Yeah.
What do we know about what algae can do for that scenario?
Yeah. Well, because mitochondria control everything,
right,
including the hormonal balance, and I don't have the science because I haven't dug into that.
Yeah.
I'm just conjecture would be.
Can you go back to PubMed?
Yeah. Excuse me for a minute. Well,
come back to me about 40 times later of research on PubMed.
I'm sure there's stuff there. I just haven't been able to find it yet, or so busy because I got also on a sidetrack, which I do want to talk about cancer, especially breast cancer, and what this does for you, because it literally kills cancer cells, not the algae, the blue pigment, but I have to believe that it does facilitate that because it just heals everything in your body because it has all the nourishment that's missing.
I feel like it's like, when you listen to like a podcast like this, and sometimes you put it on 2 or 3 speed. And that's how I feel like aging is. It's like everything's just happening so fast.
Yeah.
What I feel like is this is like putting it on half a speed.
Yeah.
And like it slows that aging process down so that you're not going through your 40s, 50s, 60s and just feeling like every day is like a new body, a new mind.
Yeah. Because the thing is, and this is what was so great about what I've had to do, is you start to learn how your body functions. Like we know more about our cell phones than we do about our bodies. And we know that we have to plug our cell phone in at night to charge it. You wouldn't even expect your phone to work if you didn't charge it. But we expect our bodies to keep going without a recharge or a reset.
Right.
And if you just understand what your body needs and you start to give it what it needs, it works beautifully.
Yeah.
And we had all what we needed up until the age of 30. So we thought that was going to keep going forever.
That's right.
Stop. Right. Guess what? Time out. Not. But so algae replaces all those things that we had naturally up until 30. And so that you can get back to the way you used to feel when you were that age. I just keep, I take for granted how I feel. But then, we're at a show here at KetoCon and people are telling me about, this disease they have and that disease. And I'm thinking, wow, I've been taking for granted how great I feel.
So true.
And I forget that, 60, when you say 60% of adults have a chronic disease, and if they're in my age group, it's 85%, and I don't have any of that, and I take no medications. I think, wow, I guess this stuff really does work.
What do we know about what it does for like mood disorders? Because one of the statistics I heard a few months ago that just is burning on my heart is that the most common time of life for a woman to commit suicide is between 45 and 55.
Wow, yeah.
So that's a neurochemical shift.
Yeah.
So do we have any research?
Well, that's again the mitochondria. There's two. Remember, when you think of your cell, and there's a nucleus in there, and these little mitochondria, 2 million per cell. And how many cells do we have? 300,000 trillion.
I was just gonna say.
So it's a number that you can't even.
Yeah.
So when they are damaged, nothing is working. Your synapses aren't working. You've got amyloid plaques probably because there's toxins and chemicals and aluminum up there. You've got all this disease. The cells can't communicate.
Yeah.
I tell people, well, so what happens is when your mitochondria get damaged, this electron transport chain, which is like, I say it's like a relay race. And so there's these 5 stations, and each station passes the electrons to the next station, to the next station. So just like in a relay race, someone passes the baton, and the goal is to cross the finish line. Well, the goal in your electron transport chain is to get to the ATP, the final station where ATP is produced. But if your mitochondria are damaged, those stations, the mitochondria expand, and the stations get further and further and further apart. So it's harder and harder for the baton to get past, and so the electrons get dropped, which causes even more free radical damage. I tell people it's like asking Tom Brady to do a pass in a stadium that's 5 times the size of a normal stadium. So the damage just gets worse and worse because the mitochondria get expanded, more electrons get dropped, there's more free radical damage, more inflammation, and so it doesn't stop. And so I think that's the time when they do the suicide, is because they remember what they used to feel like.
Yeah.
And there is nothing they've been taking to get them back there. And they can't bear the thought of this being their future.
Yeah.
And so, everybody, especially women, I mean, this will heal your brain because it's giving your brain the nourishment that it had, the protection that it had when you were younger. These nutrients do not exist in food.
Yeah.
The phycocyanin has been proven to, like I said, to kill cancer cells. It also is an antioxidant, the superoxide dismutase. These are nutrients you need that your body gave you automatically until you were 30, and then it started dropping. So by the time you are 40, you don't have that protection. Your superpowers are gone.
Yeah.
And that's why I think truly this is a super food. I call it a super duper food.
It's more fun to say it that way.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the protein content, because that's the other thing that we've been doing in my Reset Academy. We've been really helping that community see the power of protein, especially if you're going to break a fast with protein.
Yeah.
But then we have all these questions about like, well, if I do something like a bit like we've been experimenting with aminos in a fasted state.
Yeah.
And then the question becomes, well, is that going to pull you out of autophagy?
Yeah.
Is that going to stop apoptosis?
Yeah.
So, but when we opened it up and you said it's got a lot of protein, that was another thing I thought, oh my gosh, we're trying to get more protein into these women.
Yeah.
So,
well, numerically, it doesn't look like a lot. So like we sell them in these little pouches, and there's 30 tablets. And by the way, when we first started, we got it accepted and found by the sports community.
Oh, yeah.
So we worked with Olympic athletes. We had so many Olympic athletes. I sent my team over to the Olympic Village, to the Olympic Games in Russia years ago. And anyway, so they love it because of the nourishment and the energy they get. But that's why there's 30, is because it took 30 before they started to feel some benefits. So in 30 tablets, there's 5 grams of protein. And you think, well, that's not much. But what I want people to understand is, because, especially with spirulina, which is a bacteria, so there's nothing to prevent the absorption, you get all those 5 grams instantly. Now, when you eat animal protein, the protein's all bound up, and it can take up to 2 to 3 days for your body to break it down into individual aminos. And by then, maybe you didn't have all the factors or cofactors. And so some reports I've seen say, on average, you absorb only maybe 10% of the protein as aminos. So let's say you had 50 grams of protein, but within 2 or 3 days, you've only absorbed 5 grams as aminos. So having 5, but the aminos in the algae, both of them, get into your body instantly.
Yeah.
And so you get all 5. So it's like having 50 grams of protein. So it's very efficient nutrition, very efficient protein.
Well said. Yeah, because you're right. We don't know. So there's a classic fasting scenario that I've been talking a lot about, which is go into your workout in a fasted state. You go into this place where you're breaking muscle down. That's what you're supposed to be doing when you work out. You're stimulating, you're double stacking autophagy with fasting and like a training or heavy weights. And then go home and power up on protein. And when you power up on 30 grams of protein, you signal that amino acid receptor site
to start building
so that it'll build strong again.
Right.
What I just heard is like, well, even if I go home and I eat a chicken breast,
it might not get in there.
It may not get in there. So it would make real sense to me now to think about using this as a way to break your fast so that you move into more of an mTOR muscle building state.
Exactly.
And then
faster.
Yeah. And then my other thought with this would be, okay, well, we also know that the microbiome changes when you fast are profound, but then when you reintroduce food, you want to add in foods that feed those microbiomes.
Right.
So that you really expand the diversity.
Yeah.
Do we have any research on what algae does to the microbiome?
Well, for the microbiome, and again, for all gut issues, I would strongly recommend the Chlorella, which could also, we generally recommend it as a post-workout as well. This is your pre-workout because of the protein that gets into your body and it gives you that mental acuity and the focus so whether you're lifting weights, you'll lift longer or lift more and you won't even notice it because you've got the spirulina helping you with all that. And then the Chlorella pulls out toxins, including lactic acid, but it's still 60% protein. This one has 64, but this is so you still get all that rich protein, but you also can pull out maybe if if there's been some autophagy, you pull out the dead cells because you don't want them to turn into zombie cells. So this is the post-workout for sure.
Yeah.
So this has been used for decades for IBS, Crohn's, gut, microbiome issues because it has fiber in it. Spirulina does not, but spirulina is, because it's a bacteria, can be absorbed and used at any age, newborns, grandparents, because your grandparents, as you get older, you have fewer enzymes for digestion. So lots of people avoid vegetables, right? Avoid a lot of foods because they just can't digest them.
Yeah.
So this is the best for everybody.
Yeah.
This sometimes can have a detox effect, which can be.
I was going to ask about that. Yeah. I mean, I remember I have a funny story about blue-green algae. This is back in the 1990s.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember my sister and I got into blue-green algae and we started taking a bunch of it. And all of a sudden she broke out in like a rash all along the side of her face.
Yeah.
At that time, we were like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like you're detoxing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So awesome.
Yeah.
It must be doing something.
Yeah.
But it was a powder. It was hard to sustain.
Yeah.
But where my brain went and what I remember from that was like, oh, algae can detox.
Yeah.
So do you see people get detox symptoms?
Well, just from the Chlorella, not from the spirulina. So, that rash that she had could have been from a lot of things. Right. It could have been really low quality algae.
That's what I'm wondering now.
About toxins in it because the chlorophyll that's in the spirulina and the Chlorella is cleansing, but it's not technically a chelator.
Yeah.
Only the Chlorella is a chelator because of the hard cell wall that attaches to the toxins and the higher glutathione.
Right.
So some people do get detox to enjoy the wellness benefits. You only need about 10 tablets, but to detox, you need closer to the 20 or 30 at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So don't, if you want the true benefits, take them all at one time. I joke with people, not I'm sure your community doesn't drink a lot, and I don't either. But, especially as you get older, it's harder to recover from any kind of alcohol.
Yeah.
You will be sober in an hour and a half if you take the full 30 tablets, and you will never have a hangover because your body breaks the alcohol down. It doesn't matter whether it's wine, beer, spirits, breaks it down into certain chemicals. Like it's not formaldehyde, but something like that, and it detects it and pulls it out. So it cleans out your blood in an hour and a half. It cleans out your cells in about an average of 7 days. And for organs, it's about anywhere from 1 to 4 months because it's all about the density of the cell structure. Your blood's very fluid.
So where my brain goes with that is, So you gave me some the other night, by the way, at a party where we were actually having alcohol. And the first thing I thought is, I can't wait to see my deep sleep.
Yeah.
Is it going to affect my deep
Oh,
sleep?
yeah. Oh, so tell me.
Yeah. So I took it that night after having, I think I had a couple of glasses of wine. Yeah. It was dry farm wine. Yeah. So it was clean wine. Yeah. But I went home, woke up, took it. I think I took it right there with you. Yeah. 2.5 hours deep sleep, which is really good. Oh, excellent. I mean, you want it for 2 hours. I'm always trying to get to 3. Yeah. But
what you normally to do.
Yeah, I can vast last night I did. Okay, so this is a good example. We're at a conference. Yeah. And had a glass of wine last night. An hour and 15 minutes.
So there.
And I didn't take it last night.
All right. So it doubled your deep sleep.
It doubled.
We've had people tell us that they have better dreams. You just wake up refreshed. It's like giving your body a shower from the inside. This stuff works. Yeah. We work with biological dentists who use it to pull out mercury. They take it. They give it to their patients as well, because when you're pulling out fillings that have mercury, there's fumes. And so this works. When there was the Fukushima disaster 8 years ago, the entire global supply of chlorella was bought up by all the Japanese within 24 hours. And it's a plant, remember? Right. So there was no chlorella available for literally 6 weeks because because it pulls out radiation. The United Nations used it after the Chernobyl incident back in the 80s.
They plant it, or how do they?
Well, it's grown we grow it in farms. It's hydroponically. Lots of vegetables are grown hydroponically. Okay. Lettuce, I think tomatoes. So it's grown in fresh water. Ours is triple filtered. We grow ours in Taiwan, so it's not Japan.
I was going to ask you about your source.
Yeah, and Taiwan is known as the gold standard for algae. I don't know whether it's because it's such a big industry there. Right. It's a bit like wine. It's affected by the angle of the sun, whether the potency of it, because. And again, 99.9% of algae is grown in Asia. There's a small amount in Hawaii, but it's very mild. And I think, again, it's because of the angle of the sun. I want to grow the company to be such a large company that we can grow it. It can grow in America. I've drawn a line from Taiwan across America, and it's Florida. So it's the middle of Florida, but it will take a lot of money but my plan is to grow it here and then have an education center so people can see it. But it is grown in fresh. Ours is triple filtered spring mountain water, and then it takes about a month to grow, and then you harvest it, pull it up, sort of like it looks like weeds at that point, and then we air dry it without high heat, which is very, very important because. All the other algae companies use high heat to dry it because they have to get to market.
It kills everything.
Well, it kills all the enzymes. It kills the pigments.
It's like pasteurization.
Exactly. So that's why, people use ours. They go, well, it's a little expensive. I'm going to go get a cheaper version. They go to Walmart or something. And they always come back because you have to use like 10 times the amount to get the same efficacy, and you still never achieve the efficacy. I can promise you it would not help your sleep. Yeah.
Well, I just want to make a point. If you're buying supplements at Walmart, stop.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not against Walmart. I just know that those supplements in general are going to be lower quality. Yeah. So that makes sense.
So taking the chlorella before bed, by the way, it does help you sleep because it has the highest tryptophan in the world. It has 5 times more tryptophan than turkey. And tryptophan is the precursor, by the way, to both melatonin, which helps you sleep, and serotonin, which is your happy space, right? Yes. Your happy transmitter. So this would help again with the brain issue. We want to reduce the inflammation so the mitochondria can be functioning better, and that you get most of that from the spirulina. Yeah. But the chlorella will pull out the heavy metals that could be there, because your brain has its own, it's called a lymphatic system. It's think of street washers. They go out there when you're sleeping and they're washing all the streets. So while you're getting your beauty rest, the chlorella is in your brain. If you're getting into deep sleep, it help you get to deep sleep. So it literally opens up the streets. So the street washers can get in there, get rid of the amyloid plaque, get rid of the aluminum, and pull it out because it chelates it. And you do nothing. You're just there enjoying whatever. Yeah. And it also stimulates peristalsis, which is a bowel movement, because you also want to get rid of the junk in your trunk so that you don't have hanging around, because a lot of colon cancer is because of people not having good bowel movements. You want to see as much regularity as possible. And then it's got the K2 in it. So, and don't forget, your skin also is nourished by blood. And what you put in your body affects your skin more than what you put on it. Yes, you need some sun SPF, but all the topicals that they sell won't do as much for you as algae will, because you get free radical damage to your skin, which causes damage to your elastin. Your elastin is what holds your skin up. It's like the structure, and it's damaged by free radicals and also by excess calcium. And of course, this protects your elastin and it builds collagen. In fact, it has more collagen than collagen powder. I did an analysis on an amino basis, all the aminos in collagen powder versus algae, and on a couple of them, we have up to 400% more of that particular amino than collagen powder does. And by the way, collagen powder is not a complete protein. It's missing tryptophan. And to absorb collagen, there are 3 nutrients. I think it's zinc, A, and another vitamin, and they have to add it to the collagen powder, and it's already automatically in the algae.
So interesting you say that, because again, collagen's another one I've really thought a lot about as a 53-year-old woman. And one of the things that I know is that estrogen helps you make collagen. And so when you lose estrogen, now you're not making as much collagen, which is why we wrinkle more. But what I actually saw in my clinic all the time was that women in their late 40s, they had injuries that just wouldn't go away, musculoskeletal injuries that just stuck around. And that didn't happen in their late 30s. And I attributed it to the collagen loss. So, but then I've tried every collagen powder on the planet. There's a few that I really love, but I can't say that when I take collagen, I like look in the mirror and I'm like, wow, I've reversed my aging. Like it just doesn't, that's not that. But is it maybe because if I don't have the cofactors, I'm not absorbing or breaking that collagen down?
Exactly. And you know, let's face it, collagen is also not a sustainable crop. You know, it's made from melted down bones and skins.
And that it's not great for the vegan.
And guess how they melt it down? With chemicals. They don't tell you that. So it's not as healthy as it's made out to be. And yet algae has more collagen than collagen powder. And it has all those cofactors in there. Well, it has all the vitamins that need the collagen your body needs to put the collagen to work. But one thing you mentioned, I do want to tell people, is when you're younger, your skin cell turnover is like 26 days. But as you get older, it's 36 days, then 46 days. So it will take longer for you to, as you get older, to see a noticeable change in your skin, because the turnover is just slower. So I just want to sort of put that.
Don't take a day about and look in the mirror. How do I look now?
But I say to people, like, I'm literally like Benjamin Button. I look younger now.
You look amazing
than I did 10 years ago. And the only thing I have done differently is the algae.
How many years you've been taking the algae?
13 years. Not a day. And I do take a fair amount of it.
I was going to say, how much?
And honestly, I don't think I even want. Somebody once said, well, I can't take that much, but I do. When I started doing
this, what's possible?
Well, at least 100.
A day.
Yeah. And by the way, our NHL players, they take 75 spirulina before a game to give them the energy on the ice, because they need that focus, and hockey's a very fast game, and they take 75 Chlorella after the game to pull up the lactic acid, and also because we know hockey players are big drinkers, so I'm sure it's at the post-game party as well. But my skin is so much better than it was never bad, but to think that I could be, it's kind of weird, because people, you know, even occasionally I get hit on by a young guy. I'm thinking, hey, you know, I could be your mother. But
so here you are. So I'll turn you down cougar. That's what I just heard. Amazing. Okay, all the single ladies out there.
That's right. Cougars unite.
It's a cougar. It's a cougar.
It's a cougar food. It's a cougar food. But you know, cougars who have grandchildren, it's great for kids too. You know, I give them, because you know, there's so much garbage out there. And also I will mention that, you know, at families, there's a lot of stress around eating healthy, and kids just don't like vegetables. So we've had mothers email us and say, look, and you've brought peace back to our family, because I don't have to fight with my kids or my husband to eat their vegetables anymore, and I throw them out all the time. So the kids love to eat them because it turns their tongue green. They think it's really funny. So that's half a tablet. So if they're 4, give them 2 a day. If they're 6, give them 3 a day. And pets. Your pets will go crazy over this stuff. And animals are smart. And I have a funny story. Somebody told me they took their energy bits with them on a hike. They were in a court. We can't remember where they were. But anyways, a bear broke into their campground in the middle of the night. So they rushed off, and they came back about 2 hours later. The everything, the tents all torn up. The bags that they had of the supplements had been ripped open, but all the supplements were there. The bag of the Energy Bits Spirulina tablets ripped open and licked clean. Not a raw.
So bears like it. So
all animals, cats, dogs, bears, they know everything when they have the.
Okay, talk about breast cancer, because you've brought it up a couple of times, and just I'll share with you. I don't know if you know this about me, that one of the reasons I got so deep down the rabbit hole of nutrition and detox and fasting was because of a patient of mine who at 40 was given a breast cancer diagnosis and was given 3 months to live. And we worked together. I met her at that 3-month mark, and we worked together, and she ended up turning her life into adding about 10 more years under life. So in that decade, I researched so much on cancer and what could we do to prevent cancer, overturn cancer. At that time, I didn't know about algae. I didn't even know about fasting at that time.
99% of the world outside.
Right,
But algae. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
So number one, I got into this whole journey because my younger sister had breast cancer. She lives in Canada, and her oncologist told her to change her diet to an alkaline diet because it would help with her healing process. They didn't tell her what it was or why, what it would do. So I'm close to my sister. I have 2 sisters, and she's my baby sister. So I said, I have no idea. I have an MBA. I was doing international business, nothing to do with nutrition. And I said, but I will find out because I'm a good researcher. I can find out. So if anybody who ever wants to date me, don't mess with me. I can find out if you're telling me the truth or not.
I can research.
Load of energy. Yeah, exactly.
Look.
So I found out that she wanted her to have an alkaline diet because cancer cannot exist in an alkaline environment. And so when you have acidic food, your body is constantly trying to reject, especially your blood needs to be at 7.34, which is as alkaline, and your cells need to be 7.1, which is just slightly over alkaline. The alkaline acidic range goes from 0 to 14. And Otto Warburg is a German scientist who won a Nobel Prize in, I think, 1931 for discovering cancer cannot exist in an acidic environment. So that was why she wanted her to have an alkaline diet, because it would help her body maintain that level of alkalinity so that she could heal.
Yeah, you need to. I think cancer can't exist in an alkaline environment inside the cell.
Exactly.
And actually, his work is how I got into fasting, because the same thing is that I started to look at what was changing within that cell that made sure it didn't turn into a cancer cell.
Right.
And alkalinity was one, ketones was one. So,
So that's what got me into it. So I researched her food. She changed her diet. She did go through chemo. But in the process, I learned about this importance of alkalinity, which was mostly in plants because of the phytonutrients, and the chlorophyll, which is the most alkaline nutrient in the world. And eventually, so then I went back to school, studied nutrition, and started teaching. I put a curriculum together to get people to eat more vegetables, and everyone said, I hate vegetables, or they're too expensive, or no, they go bad, or they're too much struggle with vegetables. It gives me gas, they go bad. So I thought, okay, I got to find something that gives them the nutrients of vegetables without any of the work or any of the downside, and that's how I found algae. So number one, how does it affect and prevent or help correct cancer, breast cancer in particular? It's the most alkaline food in the world, number one, hands down, boom. So that's number one. Number two, because especially with spirulina, there is the blue pigment that's in here. It's called phycocyanin. It's hard to spell. It's PHYCOYCIN. It has been proven to kill cancer cells, and this is what the chemotherapy companies even use. And but you don't want to. We all have cancer cells in our. Let me just preface this. We all have cancer cells in our body at all times. Yep. But if you have a strong immune system, and if you have a healthy mitochondria, they can keep those cancer cells from growing and becoming a more challenging health condition. But right now, most people don't have a strong immune system, and certainly after the age of 40, your mitochondria are not healthy. Yep. So that's one of the reasons why I think at 40, these cancer diagnoses just go through the roof because of those two issues. So the blue phycocyanin, and what it does, it triggers this thing called, in that electron transport chain, there's this little shuttle bus molecule called cytochrome C, and it triggers that cytochrome C, and that kills the cancer cells. It kills both cancer cells and senescent cells and leaves all of the healthy cells alone. I tell people, we all like to poke that bubble wrap.
Right.
And when you poke one of those bubbles in the bubble wrap, the rest of the bubble wrap is fine. The only one that got damaged was the one you poked. That's basically the process of this phycocyanin. It can detect the cancer cells, pop it, or the senescent cells, pop it, and meanwhile, all your other healthy cells are fine. And in fact, on healthy cells, that cytochrome C, which is equivalent of a shuttle bus, like if you're at the airport, you can't get to your flight if you don't take that shuttle bus to the terminal. That cytochrome C is the shuttle bus that gets your electrons to the final station in generating ATP. So in healthy cells, it generates more energy.
Yeah, it's going to.
Unhealthy cells, it kills them. I see that's pretty sweet.
That's pretty sweet. So here's what I learned in this decade of helping this woman with cancer and how to change her lifestyle is that there are two major issues in cancer. One is you've got to find a way to kill the cell that has already gone rogue and has become a cancer cell.
Right.
And you have to make sure you're not creating new ones.
Exactly.
Because it's like you had an environment inside your body that all of a sudden led to this cancer cells creation. So when we come in with chemo and radiation, we're going after that cancer cell.
You're killing everything else.
Yeah, you're killing everything else. But
your gut biome.
We haven't addressed, well, how do we make sure we don't get new ones?
Exactly.
When you're looking at things like breast cancer, this is why women get, they get all of a sudden a clean diagnosis, and then 5-10 years later, they're back with a new diagnosis.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing you say is that not only do the chemical components or the natural components of algae kill an actual existing cancer cell, but it fires up the ATP and the glutathione
on the healthy ones.
On the healthy ones, so you don't turn. So it's going from
exactly, and it maintains that alkaline environment, so that also keeps the cancer cells out. And because the reason why the cancer cells spread so quickly is you want something called cell program death. The way I explain it to people is like our cells can multiply 50 times, and after that they kind of they go, well, I'm done, nothing left here, but they don't go away. They're like someone who's had a great job and they're in retirement, but they keep showing up and, causing havoc in the office. It's like, you're retired, go away. But they don't. And so what they do is they're inflammatory. They still release these chemicals that damage all the other healthy cells. And so when you have programmed cell death, which apoptosis does or autophagy does, the cell goes, oops, I'm not feeling so well. I think I've done my thing. Time to leave. But now, it's like maybe you sort of give away all the jewels. You take the car. You take my mitochondria. You take the jewels with my nice nucleus, and basically the healthy cell subdivides itself into other healthy cells, and that's the process of apoptosis. No inflammation. It's a controlled goodbye. But here's all the goodies. You guys, it's like to your kids, you go on.
It's a cellular garage sale.
Yeah. Or it's just your family. It's the next generation taking over, and good luck.
Interesting.
But if it's an unhealthy cell, it doesn't know to do that, and it goes through a process called necrosis, where it just goes. It spits out everything. It's like it's like throwing up, frankly. And so what it does is it throws up all of the toxicity that's been in the cell, and which goes to all the other cells.
Yeah.
So that's what happens in cancer cells. They don't know they're sick, and so they just spill out all of their toxicity to the neighboring cells, which brings me to the other next critical reason why you need to take this every day, even if you don't have symptoms of cancer, because believe me, cancer cells exist in all of us. This blue phycocyanin has been shown to stop. It's called anti-angiogenesis. Angiogenesis is when cancer cells and tumors basically hijack your blood vessels to feed them. And so that's what helps them grow. This stuff stops it. It's called and there's a great organization called the Angiogenesis Association. They're actually based in Cambridge, Massachusetts. It's angiogen.org. And they invited us to a conference they had about 10 years ago, because they called us and said, do you know your spirulina stops cancer? I said, no, I didn't know. And so they sent me the papers, scientific papers.
Love that.
So it's all documented. So it stops the growth of blood vessels, tumors. It stops the phycocyanin, and I have to be really careful so the FDA doesn't shut me down. I'm not saying that the algae does this. I just want to be careful about this. It's the pigment that's found in algae that does it. And this is used by the pharmaceutical industry now. And you can Google phycocyanins, PHYCOCYNIN, and cancer treatments. So it's so critical because women, breast cancer is so prevalent. And it's such a it's painful. It's a painful diagnosis. It's a painful recovery.
And it's expensive.
And it's expensive. It comes back.
Yeah,
it wipes you out.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think her name was Lanny, the patient I worked with, and I'm going to say in about 10 years she may have spent over $1 million.
Yeah, it's
to extend her life 10 years. Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah, and so this will help prevent that naturally. Yeah, but you need to take this is not I think I'll take it every once in a while. This is a daily food.
Yeah.
This will replace many of your supplements, probably all of your vegetables, some of your protein. You can travel with it. We have the expiry date is usually 3 years, but honestly, it never goes bad. Never goes bad. You could keep it in your cupboard. It requires no work. Just swallow these little tablets. I mean, people.
Yeah, it's so simple.
This is a gift to us from Mother Nature. Yeah, it's just never been explained to anyone. The science is there, it's just.
And I actually, where my brain puts this is actually in the food category, not necessarily supplement category.
Food.
And everything we're talking about, the way I'm looking at this is you're going to add this into a healthy lifestyle. It's not going to. The way I look at this is like. It's not like you can eat horrible, lack of sleep, drink, every night, and then take a bunch of energy bits, and then all of a sudden, your life is going to be perfect. If you pair this with a healthy lifestyle, that's how you're like
exactly
the cougar, the cat.
Yeah, exactly. But even if because people are so slow to make changes, so I tell people that if you have your energy or you have issues that are going on and you're not prepared to make big shifts, this is like a boat with a lot of holes in it. This will fill some of your holes.
Yeah.
Just to keep you afloat until you kind of get the confidence to maybe start making changes. So it's the effortless, easiest, proven, nourishing way to get yourself on a better path.
If somebody was to just try this for like 30, 60, 90 days, what do we think? And I know you guys are giving my audience 20% off.
Yes, a great discount code.
Yeah.
Do you want me to share?
Yeah, why don't you share?
So Pelz, is the discount code. Come to energybits.com and you'll see a discount box. Put in Pelz and you'll get 20% off everything, anytime, all the time.
Perfect.
So, because we really want people to be able to enjoy. And we sell them in these large bags. This is probably the best value, but using that quote from NASA, this has the equivalent of nutrition of 551 pounds of vegetables. And if you took 10 a day, it would last you 3 months. So it's very efficient nutrition. And then we also have these canisters that have these little cute.
I like those.
The back.
My countertop. I really like that.
They come with a bag inside them, so you just pour it, and then you just shake them out into your hand. So there's no dust.
No, and then really nice.
Yeah, and then when you run out, you just buy another bag. So, because they're reusable. And then the canisters come with.
How long would somebody need to take it? If I'm thinking for myself, and just full transparency, I've been taking it sort of haphazardly. But now after talking to you, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to do 30 in the morning, 30 in the evening.
That would be the best.
And do that for 90 days and just look at HRV, look at deep sleep, look at my skin.
Do bone density. Honestly, all your numbers.
Okay, my last question for you, and this is something that I ask everybody.
Okay.
Each year I theme my podcast.
Okay.
And this year I themed it on self-love.
Okay.
And what our own personal superpower is, because I feel like we don't give enough self-love to ourselves.
Oh, I know.
And I also feel like we don't brag about our superpowers, which we should. So do you have a self-love practice, a daily self-love practice? And what is your superpower that you bring to the world?
Yeah. Well, I always have a routine in the mornings, because I'm off trying to be healthy with, have water with squeezed lemon, and I have yerba mate, which is very a great tea, and then I have my algae. But I do meditation and stretching in the morning. I love yoga. Now I live in Boston, so I can't always do it, but I like to do a walk in the morning. Just getting out in nature is beautiful. It makes me feel loved, because I love Mother Nature. And if you're ever in doubt about what to do, just study Mother Nature. By the way, things don't happen overnight with Mother Nature, and so you have to have, bring that with you.
So well said. I love that.
And I think for my superpower, they're coordinated. I love making things beautiful. I used to, my previous career was an interior publisher of an interior design magazine. Before that, I was in international business, which, wasn't a good fit for me. But so it doesn't matter whether it's interior design, fashion design, I design all the
the product, the outside packaging is gorgeous.
Well, I had to make the packaging as beautiful because I can't help anyone if I can't get the algae into their body. So I wanted them to feel comfortable and informed. And so and related to that is I can take very complex things and trim them down to concepts that are easy to understand, which is related to making things beautiful because, again, Mother Nature provides us with everything, and flowers are everywhere, harmony is everywhere, energy is everywhere, and it's all about balance and symmetry, and I love to give that to people. I sort of hid it for a while because if you try to pursue too much beauty, the business world doesn't take you seriously.
Oh, that's
so screw it. I'm just going to do my thing.
I love that.
But I love making an environment beautiful for people because it gives you, it stabilizes you. It makes you feel calm.
Gives you oxytocin.
Yeah. So
amazing.
Helping people feel grounded and calm makes me feel I've done a good job, and I do it through beauty, nutrition, and explanation.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. Well, this has been really enjoyable. And I have to tell you again, I've been watching this product, trying to understand how to use it.
Yeah.
My brain understands algae could be helpful. I love this idea that we are connected to the earth.
Yeah.
And that healing's going to come from the earth.
Exactly.
That's where we're going to see the next level of healthcare come.
Yeah.
So I cannot wait for this to get to my audience. And just remind us again, where do we find it?
So it's energybits.com, ENERGYBITS. And we write a blog. There's lots of information there.
Yeah.
We're also on Instagram, EnergyBits. And there's always fun stuff there.
Cool.
And we're at lots of shows. And the discount code is Pelz.
Yeah.
To get 20% off. Doesn't matter what you buy. If you buy 4 of something, you get free shipping.
Thank you.
But honestly, I tell people, don't think about why you would take algae. Think about why you wouldn't. And I want to assure people, algae isn't new. It's just new to you. So I just welcome people to give it a try because we need something.
Yeah, we do need something.
Keep going.
And we need something simple. Simple. What I like about this, it's so simply
nourishing. And remember, your mitochondria are counting on you.
I love that. Thank you, Catherine. This was amazing.
Thanks a lot.